Hey there, listeners. Welcome back to the Daily Dispatch. I'm Tyler, and as always, I'm here with my co-host, Alex McFarland. Today, we've got a special treat for you. We're talking about the element of surprise and the joy of delight. Alex is going to share an anecdote from his past that perfectly encapsulates this theme. So, Alex, let's jump right in. What's this story all about, and how does it illustrate the impact of surprise and delight?
Let me just quick tell you the anecdote. I was in Cameroon in West Africa in 2014 or 2015 out in the bush, and I was invited to stay at a friend's ranch or farm. And when I got out there, I was greeted by the caretaker of the property. And just for your imagination, the property was a multi-acre farm. It was leased out to some different people, and the house that was on it was a cinder block building, and with basically windows were boarded up, no lights on. And the guy that greeted me lived in a hut down the hill from the house. Anyway, so he comes out, he greets me and my compatriot, Sarah Dancer, who would later go on to fame on the show Naked and Afraid, greets us and offers us some honey. He goes, "Hey, do you guys want any honey?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So he gets to set up in the house, gets the fire going, takes off. Sarah and I are hanging out there for an hour or so. And then we hear a knock on the door. Guy comes in, and he's got this bucket, this 5-gallon bucket. And he offers us, he goes, "Hey, you still want some honey?" "Absolutely. Yeah, totally." Pulls this like a T-bone steak of honeycomb out of this bucket, puts it on a plate, and hands one steak to each of us. It was incredible, man. I'd never chewed the wax of a honeycomb before. I got a chance to do that. The taste of the honey was unbelievable. But what was really relevant to our conversation was when the guy asked me if I wanted some honey, in my mind, my frame of reference was like, oh, maybe he's going to get, like a spoonful of honey.
It's amazing how a simple gesture can turn into such a delightful and unexpected experience, isn't it? That element of a surprise really amplified the whole moment for you. How do you think this kind of surprise and delight can be applied in other areas of life or business?
I think that if we're just going to apply surprise and delight into recruiting, I think it's about what are our candidates' expectations, and then how can we go way above and beyond to make a big impact, maybe move the needle on their enthusiasm for the role.
Absolutely, Alex. It's really about identifying those small but meaningful touch points where you can exceed expectations without breaking the bank. It could be something as simple as a personalized note after an interview, or even a small token of appreciation that aligns with the company's culture. What do you think is a good example of that in a recruiting context?
I'll give you one example. I worked with a firm that was recruiting somebody to open up a new office for them, and they offered to bring the guy into town, and they ended up flying the guy in on a private plane to meet his schedule so that way he could get in and get a full day of commercial travel.
Absolutely, Alex. It's a high impact move that really communicates how much the company values that candidate. Even though it's not always feasible for every situation, it's a great example of thinking creatively to surprise and delight.
So I want to contrast that too, and this may just be another podcast episode another time, but the other thing about this is also want to evaluate what are my beliefs about things that I think are having a big impact and put them through the prism of the candidate's experience. Maybe even ask some of the people that you've put through that process to get feedback on the things that you surprised and you thought you were going to surprise and delight with, because some of them are going to have less razzle dazzle than we might think.
Absolutely, Alex. That's a really insightful point. What we think is a wow moment might not necessarily land the same way for the candidate. Getting that feedback could reveal blind spots or even opportunities to fine-tune those moments for a maximum impact.
Yep, that's great. Let's wrap it there, Tyler.
All right, listeners, that's a wrap for today's episode on the power of surprise and delight. We hope you enjoyed Alex's story and the insights on how to apply this concept, especially in recruiting. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on the Daily Dispatch.